I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about Dana White announces Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev as the main event for UFC Saudi Arabia fight card. UFC Saudi Arabia will take place on June 22nd, 2024, and air live and free on ABC. Robert Whittaker, the former UFC middleweight champion, most recently competed at UFC 298, where he scored a unanimous decision victory over Paulo Costa. Prior to that win, Robert Bobby Knuckles was coming off of a TKO loss at the hands of the reigning UFC middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis. Meanwhile, Khamzat Chimaev was last seen in action at October's UFC 294 event at Abu Dhabi, where he picked up a majority decision victory over former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. Khamzat Chimaev has gone a perfect 7-0 since joining the UFC ranks in 2020. UFC Saudi Arabia will be co-headlined by a key heavyweight bout featuring Alexander Volkov, right, taking on Sergey Pavlovich. I think that's how you pronounce those two names. I'm terrible with Russian. Volkov will enter the contest on a 3-fight win streak. Okay. Pavlovich is coming off of a first round. Was it a first round knockout to Tom Aspinall when was that? Was that October or November? I think it was last November, I think, at UFC 295. Yeah. And there's a few other fights there. A welterweight fight, Calvin Gastelum versus Daniel Rodriguez. Light heavyweight fight, Johnny Walker versus No Time, and some few other fights. Okay, that's yeah. This is an interesting story here. I have to say I am a MMA casual, so I cannot remember all of this stuff. Though I don't follow everything that goes on with the sport. But this is going to be an interesting fight here between Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev. I don't know if this is the number one contender. They keep saying number one contender, and it's so many fights are not number one contender. Obviously, this is like a title eliminator fight, but I don't really believe that the winner of this fight is guaranteed a title fight. If Robert Whittaker defeats Khamzat Chimaev, a lot of people are going to be saying, well, Khamzat Chimaev is ranked number 12, 11 right now in the UFC. He has no victories over any ranked middleweights. So I don't know if this victory gets, if this victory for Robert Whittaker over Khamzat Chimaev gets him another shot versus Dricus du Plessis. As we said, Dricus du Plessis did defeat Robert Whittaker less than a year ago, right? In the second round, it was pretty bad. It was a TKO. Robert Whittaker kind of took Dricus du Plessis down in the first round. Dricus du Plessis got up pretty quickly and took Robert Whittaker down, right? We don't see that many times in Robert Whittaker's career. Robert Whittaker has fought Israel Adesanya twice. He's fought like Yoel Romero. I think he fought him twice, and he really has not. We have not really seen Robert Whittaker being taken down that many times in his UFC career, fighting off of his back, right? But Dricus du Plessis did pretty easily. Battered Robert Whittaker, hit him with an elbow, bloodied Robert Whittaker up in the first round, and then he finished him in the second. It was pretty brutal, right? Like, if you think about it. But I don't really see Khamzat Chimaev being able to take down Robert Whittaker like that, right? Khamzat Chimaev coming off of a majority decision victory versus Kamaru Usman last October. That fight was supposed to be versus Paulo Costa, ironically enough, but Paulo Costa had like some kind of elbow injury or pus coming out of his elbow or something. He had surgery on his elbow, and it did not fully heal by then. So Kamaru Usman stepped up to the middleweight division on like 10 days notice, and Khamzat Chimaev, it was a majority decision victory. So it wasn't like a unanimous decision victory. It wasn't a finish. It wasn't a TKO. Kamal Usman, he was a former welterweight champion. So those two fought in the middleweight division. So that, beating a former champion is always good in the UFC, but Khamzat Chimaev still has not defeated any ranked middleweights. A victory over Robert Whittaker definitely puts Khamzat Chimaev right there in the middleweight championship conversation. But with his wrestling, he didn't take Kamaru Usman down too many times. I don't see Khamzat Chimaev going in this 5-round fight. I think, is this his first scheduled 5-round fight in the UFC? Or maybe he was scheduled for a 5-round fight versus Nate Diaz, I believe, and then he didn't make weight for that. So I think this may be Khamzat Chimaev's first scheduled main event, and I think this may be his first scheduled 5-round fight. We know Robert Whittaker could go 5 rounds. So with the wrestling, I think that's going to have to advantage Robert Whittaker, and I think the striking is going to advantage Robert Whittaker. I'm going into this fight with the idea that I think Robert Whittaker is going to defeat Khamzat Chimaev. Like I said, I do not think Khamzat Chimaev is going to go in there and be able to outstrike Robert Whittaker. I don't think he has the power to put Robert Whittaker out, and I do not think he's going to be able to out-wrestle Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker has a really great sprawl defense. And his striking, he's one of the best strikers in the middleweight division. He's a finisher, Robert Whittaker is. So this is going to be a very, very tough fight for Khamzat Chimaev. The middleweight division does seem a little bit open. I don't know how many fights are scheduled. I think, as far as the top 15 middleweights right now, we had, I think, Brendan Allen versus Chris Curtis, right? I think that fight is happening. And Roman Dolidze versus Anthony Hernandez, I think. I have no idea. I can't. Like I said, I'm MMA casual. I can't follow all of this stuff. But when we're talking about the middleweight division, we still have people who are not scheduled in the top 15. We got Jared Cannonier. Where's Jared Cannonier? Sean Strickland. Where's Sean Strickland? Israel Adesanya. Is he retired? Is he retired to 2027, or is he back in the division? And then Dricus du Plessis coming off of a impressive victory over Sean Strickland, where he took Sean Strickland's middleweight championship, and now Dricus du Plessis is the UFC middleweight champion. And from what I understand, I'm seeing, my hardcore MMA fans, they kind of, which is surprising, I guess they're fine with Israel Adesanya fighting Dricus du Plessis. I am not. Israel Adesanya is coming off of a loss. He lost to Sean Strickland last year, so I don't understand why he's getting another title shot. He lost to Alex Pereira. He got TKO loss to Alex Pereira in the 5th round about less than 2 years ago. Came back, defeated Alex Pereira last year, and then he lost to Sean Strickland. So Israel Adesanya already got that championship rematch clause thing. He won the belt back from Alex Pereira, but then in his next fight, he lost to Sean Strickland. And my concern with this is that, his beef with Dricus du Plessis, Israel Adesanya's beef with Dricus du Plessis. Let's say Dricus du Plessis defeats Israel Adesanya, and then what happens? Israel Adesanya probably is going to go back into retirement. I really could see that happening. Israel Adesanya has a lot of victories over many middleweights in this division, but if Dricus du Plessis defeats Israel Adesanya, I really don't see Israel Adesanya coming back for another fight in the UFC for a while. He's probably going to take a little bit more time off and really probably go back into retirement for until 2027. So I wanted, maybe Israel Adesanya and Sean Strickland to fight maybe at UFC 300, and the winner of that fight, it would have been cool to see them fight Dricus du Plessis, right? Because Sean Strickland has a victory over Israel Adesanya. Let's say run that back and see who is the number one contender. But right now, it looks like Israel Adesanya is going to be the number one contender over Sean Strickland, which is, That's interesting. So where does that leave Sean Strickland? Who does Sean Strickland fight? I would imagine the only other contender that I could imagine Sean Strickland would be fighting would be Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier has a victory over Sean Strickland. Maybe that's that's the only thing I can imagine. But let me know your opinion of this story. Who do you think is going to win between Khamzat Chimaev and Robert Whittaker? I'm going to be team Bobby Knuckles, but I'm an MMA casual, so what the hell do I know? I'm Jason, UFC. Today we had a story about Dana White announces a huge main event for UFC Saudi Arabia. I don't know if it doesn't say anything about a title eliminator, anything like that, or number one contendership fight, but, it's going to be a big fight for the middleweight division. Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.